Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino Decespedes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engle. What's up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. It's been a while. Feels like we haven't talked in forever. It's only been a few days, but after the run we were on during the Euros, a few days break seems longer than it used to.
Yeah, man. I'm rested, but also feeling a little rusty. We're gonna see. I don't know. We'll see where this show lands on the age-old conversation. But some football. I don't want to say some good football. Some football this past weekend was played. Some of it good, some of it less so. But who cares about that? We're on to week 15 in this NWSL season. Week 14, right. Done and dusted. They shook off some rust this past weekend. So I am excited about getting to week 15. Had some news break today. We'll get into that. So a lot to cover, man. Where do you want to get started?
Let's get started with a beverage to celebrate the podcast coming back. Let's go. My beers have been a little splashy lately. I don't know what's going on over here. I got, try not to get beer on the mic. I don't know. Trying to make things happen. Maybe it was the rust.
Oh, there you go. Splash. Quick shout out before you hit the show. I want to give our guy Justin a shout out. One of the members of the ITZ community, and I want to give him a shout out for this reason. So anybody checking this out, if you didn't go back and either watch or listen to the Jackie Oatley episode, definitely go check that out. I had a great time with the legend, recounting the Euros final. But the reason I wanted to shout out Justin as a member, got a chance to take a look at that video a little bit early, roughly 24 hours before the general public got a chance to look at it. We're going to keep that tradition up, probably with our interviews. Those are a little bit more evergreen. So another benefit of being part of what we've got going on here. So shout out to Justin. Cheers to you. If you cracked a little something, now's as good a time as any to take a sip.
Double cheers to the legend, Justin. Thank you for the support, pal. We always appreciate you dropping knowledge in the comments too. So, pick your title. I would say for Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I like the director of player development, but Justin, if you got for Into the Channel, but Justin, if you have your eyes on another position, let us know, buddy.
Cosign. All right, let's get to it. Week 15. Let's start with the news. Shout out to you for sending this my way. And for, another friend of the show, Evan Davis over at the Equalizer of XOG fame. You sent me his link, I think unknowingly. That was pretty funny. But yeah, we some news broke today.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is a good, informative story. I should send this to Dino. And yes, done by our pal Evan Davis. Sean NAHAS, his contract was terminated by North Carolina Courage, according to them. I'll just read the statement, and then I have some thoughts on the statement, because why wouldn't I have thoughts on a statement? It reads as follows, quote, "The North Carolina Courage have terminated the contract of head coach Sean NAHAS, effective immediately. The North Carolina Courage remain focused on the continued development of the team and maintaining a professional, competitive environment for players, staff, and supporters." End quote. I read that last line a little weird. Forgive me for that. But it's because I'm looking at that and saying, no thanks for everything, coach. No, we wish you well in your future endeavors. On IG, the post is just that statement, no caption. On Blue Sky, it's just that statement, no caption. I don't know, man. We cover a sport and, several different leagues, but we'll talk about this league in particular, where sometimes head coaches being removed could mean that something deeper is going on. And so I don't know. We have to ask those questions, and it's an unfortunate reality we live in. But the reality we live in is pretty unfortunate right now in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't want to speculate too much on it, but I can, as a communications professional myself, I do like to look at these. Growing up, I would see a statement like this and sort of like skim it, right? Okay, yada yada. Team statement. Who cares? But as I've gotten older, there's always hints in these. And I think when you look at that statement you read, two keywords here: North Carolina Courage remained focused on the continued development of the team and maintaining a 1, professional, and 2, competitive environment. So those two words don't need to be in a statement about terminating a contract. We want it to be professional, and we want it to be competitive. You look at what North Carolina did against San Diego. I mean, I'm still happy holding my San Diego stock, but San Diego really dominated and bullied that game. When you think about how North Carolina likes to play possession, connecting passes, just kind of controlling the real estate part of the match, none of that happened. San Diego dominated all three of those categories in that match. So if you're management and you're looking at NAHAS and NAHAS is telling you, hey, we want to play this kind of way. We've constructed this team this kind of way. Everything's building up this way. And a team like San Diego comes into your house, plays your brand of football, and just smacks. I mean, it's a 0-0 draw, but I mean, North Carolina, dominated across pretty much all of the major stats. And I think I was zero. Listen, I wasn't necessarily going to come on the show and talk about Sean NAHAS' job security, but suffice it to say, 0% surprised when I got your message today about the termination.
I think that's all. I think all that's fair. I mean, they had to try to turn the match against San Diego into a rock fight, and they limited San Diego's good chances. Like San Diego had way more shots, but they weren't really getting anything on target. And I thought North Carolina just has a lot of talent. We've talked about it, especially defensive talent, especially talent that can kind of push your dangerous players away from goal and force them into taking long range shots. But I'm with you. I don't want to speculate too much. I'll say the statement made me raise an eyebrow for sure. And I don't know the guy from Adam, right? But I'll say I do hope they canned him for falling well short of expectations and not something that was dangerous or harmful to players. I think we just live in a time where we have to worry about that. And then you think about their next match as we kind of transition out of this is, they're in Houston on Friday night. Will they get the new manager bounce? Oh, they could certainly use one.
I wouldn't bet on it though. Houston, feisty, we talked about this with XOG guys. Houston's feisty. They've got good players. They don't want to show up and get rolled. They go to Bay FC and cloud a draw and come back from a goal down twice, which is always, it's usually the hallmark of two things. One team that really wants to play, really wants to compete, and then on the other side, it's a team that maybe a little sloppier than you'd like. But I mean, Houston, they're not going to be any kind of pushover for this North Carolina side. It's going to be coming in a little bit of disarray.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think on the Houston side of things, I'm with you. They're feisty. Avery Patterson continues to be great.
Oh my god!
I thought Delaney Sheehan's corner was well taken. I have some questions about Bay FC's set piece defense on that goal. I also think Houston could have lost 3-2 just to Rachel Kunanaji, who was just creating a bunch of havoc there. So Houston's defense kind of also had its moments. But this is a classic, as you and I like to talk about betting sometimes. This is a classic stay away from me because I have no idea what's going to happen in this match. I mean, maybe that's not stay away in terms of watching, but if you want to try to make money gambling, you don't know what's going to happen in this match.
No, I don't know. Go buy some crypto or something. Go do something else. All right, let's go ahead. Some other fun news. Well, this is more some ITC related news. I'm sorry. I might put this is the Cascadia rivalry. Is that the official terminology?
Cascadia. I believe that's the official terminology. I've heard it referred to as the Cascadia Derby in the past, but I think the teams refer to it as the Cascadia rivalry.
Either way, our guy's going to be in the building, confirmed. I don't know. What are you going to be looking for? This is all of a sudden this matchup that I think early in the season, preseason, you look at that week 15 Portland versus Seattle on the calendar, and not quite one of those matches that you're necessarily going to circle in a big fat red Sharpie, but all of a sudden, two teams. What are we top six? Is that possible? Two top six teams, two top six teams link up in Portland, and our guy will be in the building, covering it, holding feet to the fire. What do we need to be looking out for in this match?
I'll be taking the Amtrak down there, enjoying that. Love a good train ride. That's the East Coaster still in me. What am I looking forward to? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is beautiful. I've taken the train to Portland a couple times for my day job stuff. What am I looking for in this match? I think if you are Seattle Reign FC, I think you can win this match. Like obviously
Mm-hmm.
you already have a victory over Portland earlier in the year in Seattle, but they should be encouraged by Sofia Huerta coming in there and almost like
Yep.
playing as like part of the midfield. I thought that was really interesting versus Angel City, where it was just either her or Curry, just kind of, and you see this a lot in football, but when they trot out there, it looks like it was like a 5-2-3. But then for most of the match, it looks like more of just a 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought they were able to get into some dangerous spots, especially once Jess Fishlock came in the second half. It completely changed everything. Going from G to Fishlock really opened up the attack. And I think, if Laura Harvey can add that element to the defensive, struggle ball that people describe sometimes, which she probably says, hey, it's more of a defensive style. There's no struggle ball to it. Maybe the other team's offense is struggling. But yeah, I think they could be onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, Fishlock obviously carrying over some of that positive momentum, from the Euros, and Seattle all of a sudden now a team. Laura Harvey all of a sudden a manager that has some decisions to make, putting an attack together, figuring out not only the formation to your point, but who goes where, who's linking up with who, who's combining with who. Because I think, Mia Fischel, another player, made a Seattle Reign debut. Very curious to hear, what that experience was like for you. But all things pretty positive. You look at the table, Seattle's won 7 of their 14 matches this year. That's awesome. That's awesome for a team that I'm not sure I think I had them bottom of the playoff picture, and you were not far behind. But I mean, they've really impressed this season. Portland on the other side, had a tough time versus Washington, but not a terrible showing against a really, really tough team. This is going to be maybe the match of the weekend.
It certainly has the potential. I do think it's worth pointing out that last season, Seattle Reign finished near the bottom of the table, sitting on 23 points. They eclipsed 24 points with that victory over Angel City, so they already have more points than they had last season. Yeah, I think it has big match of the weekend vibes. I thought Portland put up a pretty good fight against Washington Spirit, but they ran into a damn buzzsaw. We'll talk more about Spirit because I would very much like to talk a lot more about the Washington Spirit. I just think Portland. Real quick, I'm not selling any Portland stock as long as we're talking about not selling stock in teams. I still think Portland is good. They were just under way too much pressure for way too long against Washington, so that they weren't able to hold on to it, which, I think is going to add to the potential match of the week vibes, because I think Portland has to look up and say, okay, if we want to stay in this thing, if we don't want to, we can't drop all 3 2 weeks in a row. So I think they're going to come out, gunning for an early goal.
That's such a good point because, we talked about Portland's, kind of DNA that goes much further back than our show and, kind of like our following of the sport. And usually what that DNA dictates is, to your point, a team not losing 2 in a row like this, especially coming back home, against an opponent that's sort of equal quality. So I really, really expect a super competitive match in this one. But I want to scoot ahead. A team that you alluded to just a couple minutes ago, this Washington Spirit side. Oh my goodness. They looked absolutely overwhelming versus Portland. And Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific, they take on probably a team with the arrow pointing the opposite direction, Gotham. I think I feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah, I mean, at best, it's pointing sideways, right? Like we talked about, like before the break, the Bats got those 2 wins, and Amoros like showing a ton of emotion, like when they squeaked out that win over Bay, because they felt like they really needed it. They're running into a buzzsaw this week. Washington Spirit against Portland, who we know is good. Like even with the losses that we've talked about ad nauseum, Washington Spirit looked like they flew over from Catalonia to play that match. They dominated possession. Like you could have put them in the all whites of Real Madrid and been like, yeah, okay, that's Real Madrid out there. Their press was vicious. Like as soon as they would lose the ball, they would immediately close down the opponent. They have unbelievable skill in the central midfield from Croy Bethune, who started off the match and just hit a laser off the crossbar right from the jump, just to immediately set the tone on everything of what was going to happen. You're going to get crunching tackles from Hirschfeld, from Bernal. Casey Kruger didn't even appear in the match. Like they have everything. And then on top of all of that, they get Trinity Rodman back. She absolutely smokes a goal. And there was a moment I just want to point out where the ball goes into space into the attacking 18, and both Kawasi and Gift Monday outrun the defender who was trying to get to. I can't remember which Portland defender it was, but both of them beat the defender to the ball, and one has to back off so the other can play the ball. And the team just has everything. And if I didn't believe in take integrity so firmly, if I could change my pick for who could win the title, I might.
I mean, we're at a mid-season checkpoint if you want to make a move there. I always like to dangle the take it. Let's see how serious you are about it. I mean, to rewind all the way back, I did have Washington as my Shield winners.
There you go.
And Jonah Heraldo is my coach of the year. 1 for 2 is not terrible, but I totally agree with you. I don't think Washington's going to win the Shield either way. I think it's KC's to lose, but totally agree with you. You brought up a couple great points. The press being vicious, 100%. And what we're used to seeing Portland do with that midfield torture chamber, Sugita, Fleming, Coffey, Moultrie. Washington did that from a whole team perspective to Portland. It's like, oh yeah, usually your midfield is better than the other midfielder, and that's kind of where you dominate. But pretty much at every point in the field, our skill level is just such where we can really make it hard. And I think 1v1, pretty much at every point in the field, Washington was at a different level, and they were looking super connected. I thought that was really great. I mean, the ball was zipping upfield really, really quickly. If you check out the passes into the final third, Esme Morgan with 12, Tara McKeown with 8, Gabby Carl with 7. These are all deeper defensive players that are winning balls and just boom, shuttling it upfield. Because to your point, you have Rose Kwasi up there, you have Gift Monday up there, you have Croy Bethune halfway between here and up there. Trinity Rodman comes in the game. It's just like there's no going wrong. And then like some of the other players, whether it's Narumi Mira, Rebecca Bernal, all of these players could just get the ball and run up they could just run with it. Like they're all skilled enough where they don't have to find an outlet and keep it moving. They can run with it, or they can nail a pass short, medium, long. And I think they're just so super dangerous. I totally agree with you. They're if the playoffs were today, I mean, it'd be tough to not be like, who's beating this team?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, man. And I thought Esme Morgan played really well. I mean, she's got to be brimming with confidence coming off the Euros victory. Did you see that she is a Jacksonville Jaguars super fan?
Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence shout out. I was like,
yeah. So she's like super psyched to get a shout out from Trevor Lawrence, who I still believe in, by the way. Just a sidebar. I know he hasn't played well early in his career. No, I'm still a believer in Trevor Lawrence. He's too good in college. I think he can still be good. But the reason,
come on, man, it's been too long. Like this is it's like pre-COVID where it's been a long time since we've seen good Trevor Lawrence. Did you? This is a total sidebar. Did you ever watch The Good Place?
I did not. I've heard it. Okay. I've heard it's great though.
Well, to the couple people that have seen The Good Place, Esme Morgan, the second most famous Jacksonville Jaguars fan in the world now in the ITC personal record book. I'll let that sit, but we'll keep it moving.
Well, I mean, it's appropriate. I'm glad you mentioned that because I gotta say, if Esme Morgan is a gigantic Jacksonville Jaguars fan, that's the greatest championship in the history of Jacksonville, Florida, is Esme Morgan winning the Euros. It's got to be. And even with my belief in my guy, Trevor Lawrence, it might be the greatest win in Jacksonville history for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to top that. Yeah, and I don't think they're going to do it on the football field. Anyway, we'll talk about that one later.
Should we talk about Gotham before we go to the next game?
I don't know, man. Gotham is. I feel like a crazy person because I keep being like, this team sucks, and people keep being like, whoa, Gotham, like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But they suck. Like they're just not good. Like they have good players. They have great players. But they can't get it together. They can't connect anything. The ball just doesn't go from, some defensive takeaway to somebody in the midfield, to somebody upfield, to some dangerous opportunity happening thereafter. It's just a lot of like meandering and a lot of like trying stuff. And, to what was this on the road? I mean, you're on the road going to Chicago and you're in the playoff picture. That's gotta be 3 points. Gotham, basically edges out the XG battle, but they get outshot versus Chicago 14-6. Ali Schlegel everywhere, just leading the game in shots. Just there was nothing that they could do. And it's like, I mean, at some point you're a serious team. I mean, you can't, that's a bad result, man, to go to Chicago and just lay an egg there.
It's definitely a disappointing result. I agree with you there. I mean, Rose Lavelle looked like scoring a couple different times. She got one called back for offside where the ball was literally in the net and she gets called back. Also, shout out to the announcer. I missed the guy's name, but he does some matches on NWSL Plus, and I think I may have heard him on Ion before. Apologies if I have that wrong. But he pointed out that was the first match that Midge Purse and Rose Lavelle played together for Gotham FC. So that's pretty wild in itself. Obviously, Purse coming off a devastating injury. Rose Lavelle's been in and out with injuries. So I think that's going to be interesting. But I'm with you. I don't think they're particularly dangerous. Something might have to really change before that happens. I got a shout out though. Kaya Harper, she had the opening goal for the Bats. Hard nosed, gritty, earned, not given goal. And do you know why that is, my good man?
Why is that?
Because she's a Minnesota Gopher. Big Ten football in the house. 2024 Big Ten Forward of the Year, first team all conference. I got to shout out Big Ten football anytime I can. But in this match versus Washington Spirit, I don't love their chances. I'm going to make my second and probably final gambling reference of this podcast. FanDuel has this match because it's Gotham at home versus Washington Spirit. They have Gotham minus 145 to win.
Don't bet that. Nobody bet that.
They have Washington Spirit plus 390 to win.
Everyone bet that.
That sounds like free money.
Yeah. Now, the one caveat is we're terrible at this, so don't take any gambling advice.
Also true. Also worth considering.
Your boy might hit a prediction every now and again, but all in all, top to bottom, yeah, you don't want to follow us too closely. But that Washington number, I mean, that's pretty dazzling.
It feels too good to pass up, and the casino's not far from your boy's house here in Washington State in beautiful Seattle. So we might just put a little down on that.
Yeah, and they love giving away money. They just can't wait to do that.
That's right.
Let's go ahead. Little revenge game matchup here. How about Utah Royals, KC Current, Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. This is one of those instances, late Friday, you go out, to one of the local establishments and you run into an old flame and there's a lot of mixed feelings and then who knows where the night goes from there. And I think we're all going to be Friday night. We'll be in that awkward moment where people are looking at each other. The jersey looks weird. We're all trying to adjust. And then we have to then adjust to the new reality that the Kansas City Current just has a lot of really good players. And I think if you're not a fan of them or the Washington Spirit, times are a little shaky, a little rocky, trying to compete with these two high-powered offenses. But I think this game will be interesting, but it also does have the potential to get a little bit out of hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about, again, we'll make another basketball reference here. When the Luka Doncic trade happened, we were trying to look for comps And I was like, well, if you were the GM of the Portland Thorns and somebody called and said, I would like to acquire Sophie Wilson. She's 25-ish, similar to Luca. Now, she obviously has like real hardware and real, I don't say real accomplishments to totally diminish Luca, but I like kind of diminishing Luca from time to time.
Unnecessary.
But she's a multiple time MVP, Golden Boot winner, all those things. What are you doing if you're Utah? What are you doing? I don't get $600,000. It's the league record for intra-league transfer funds. Not worth it. Not worth it to do that. Unless I guess maybe there will be reporting that will come out and say she demanded a trade. And our guy, Evan Davis from Expected Own Goals, literally said to us she needs to get the F out of Utah. I believe his exact quote was.
Wait, but that wasn't as good as my quote, which followed a couple of seconds later, which was like, they would never let Sentnor out the door. No fucking way.
Why would you do it? Why would you do that? She's a great young player. So I don't totally understand it. Casey, obvious, like you said, the Shield is theirs to lose, and we could be in for, eventually the teams a combination of the teams are going to run into each other between Kansas City, Washington Spirit, and our Orlando Pride. And I can't wait to see it because they're going to be absolute heavyweight battles. But Sentnor out there, when you have Chewinga and Cooper already, we're talking about real scary hours for the rest of the league.
Yeah, no, that's going to be, and I think that the scariest part is that they'll be able to mix and match based on who they're facing, and I've heard rumblings too that it could that Bia might be potentially moving on, or that's kind of been rumored. So we'll keep an eye on that. That would Definitely change things. But I don't know if you're Bia. I don't know why you want to get out of here right now. Things are really starting to heat up for that KC Current side. But you mentioned Orlando Pride amongst that, sort of top triumvirate of teams, in that top three. I looked at Orlando Pride's first 14 matches last season. I wanted to get a little temperature check on, all right, this KC side, where are we at? Obviously we know that they've had a super hot start, 12 wins of 14. The two that they didn't win were both losses. Orlando last year, 9 wins, 5 draws, no losses. So KC currently 4 points ahead after 14 of Orlando's pace last year. That's already pretty impressive because Orlando pretty much, ran away with it.
For sure.
The one that really kind of messed me up was, what was the signature last year for Orlando? It was the defense. We're like, oh my God, they just didn't give away goals. They gave up 11 goals through the first 14. KC through the first 14, 10 goals allowed. So 1 fewer. And then offense, Orlando through 14, 27 goals last year. KC is sitting at 31. So they've scored 4 more. They've allowed 1 fewer. They've got 4 more points than the double winners from last year had through this same point in the season. And all of those Orlando numbers, last quick point here, were buoyed by their 14th match last season, which was a 6-0 win over Utah. So
wow,
you take that out of the mix and the gulf is pretty wide. It could be, it's like 31 goals versus 21 if you drop that 6, but we don't do that. Case in point, KC on a little bit better clip than Orlando was last season.
I think that's all, they're all facts. So it's obviously all super valid. I think if you just look at the way they're playing, Michelle Cooper crossing the ball into the middle at speed with Chewinga, with Bia in there, soon to be with Ali Sentnor in there. It's just devastating. It's just you are in big trouble when Michelle Cooper has that cooking on the right wing. Chewinga, she scores in this one, in this past week. She's sitting on 9 goals. I believe that puts her 1 behind Astaire for the Golden Boot race. She's going to challenge for the most valuable player in the league again. And just in case anybody had any crazy ideas, obviously Lorena competing in Copa America, pretty decent match that was in the final. So they had to put Laurel Ivory back there. and she had a good showing. So, I mean, Ivory is a hell of a backup keeper. I say this as somebody who watched her play pretty closely last year for Seattle Reign, where she was kind of stuck behind Claudia Dickey. Well, now she's stuck behind Lorena, who is, as we've said, arguably at least one of the best keepers in the league, if not, she's in the argument with Katzenberger and Sheridan. But they have everything, and then they got Ali Sentnor for a bag of money. And it's just like, okay, like, if you're Utah, you got to get something, and not to like bag on them too much, but like the bag of money is not going to score any goals for you unless you like you have to go out and buy a player and actually get it right and put them in the system. Now Sentnor is going to go achieve for Kansas City.
Yeah. Also the bag of money, and I know it's like interleague but it's like that's less than BFC paid for Kundanaji, right? Like, so it's like,
yeah.
What are we really? It's not franchise changing money, but losing that player is definitely franchise changing. So it's like not the best bit of business. So who knows? We'll keep an eye on it. And total cosign on your Claudia Dickey point. I don't know enough about goalkeeping to kind of make this statement, but I watched Dickey. I'm like, oh, that's the best backup goalkeeper in the league. I'm sorry, Laura Ivory. My bad. That's that Seattle Reign mixed up. But yeah, Laurel Ivory, watching Ivory, I'm just like, oh, that might be the best backup in the league.
She's good, man.
Seeing her, yeah, I'm like total confidence watching that player in between the posts when there's no Lorena, but then Lorena comes back and it just gets worse for everybody else. I'll talk. Keep it moving. Our Orlando Pride, Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, taking on My Racing Louisville. How about that?
How about that?
How about that? This one should be fun. I thought Orlando unlocked, real disappointment versus Utah. 1-1 draw at home. Got to get that one. No Sentnor in the mix. Tanaka, kind of catches Morehouse and that midfield a little bit of sleep at the wheel. Tanaka chips everybody and gets the goal that was the only possible way Utah was going to get anywhere near a result in this one. And credit to them. They make it happen. Orlando, it's been a frustrating season, but I think I left this one with a great bit of optimism, even though the result sucked, because, you look at the starting lineup, and I'll just go through the midfield, which I feel like we've seen some version of this midfield, forever. It's McCutcheon, it's Gautrat, Ali Lemos, Summer Yates, and it's like sort of musical. We've seen that version. And I thought by the end of the match, who Orlando closed with, I thought was really interesting. So you look at the subs, Rafaele comes in. You've got Viviana Villacorta, 2021 first round pick, 3 matches played last season. So a player kind of getting worked back into the mix. Priska Chilufya scores the goal. Obviously, this is her first year with the team. I think her second goal of the season. Simone Jackson, 22-year-old out of USC, got some U.S. Youth National Team experiences, 8 goals and 11 appearances for the U20s. And then Simone Charlie, 30-year-old, hasn't played since 2023 for Angel City. But a real mix-up of players. And when we were talking to the XOG guys, we were talking about Grace Chanda, not having that player to go to at the 10. But I thought the subs and sort of like the shuffling was pretty inspired, because I think we've seen the first half of the season a little bit of a ceiling on that offense, and it's going to take some movement, some players, some new stuff, some new combinations to really turn this offense into one that could really go deep in the playoffs. I think defensively we know what they're about, but that offense, they're just going to need more. No Marta, no Angelina in this one. That was going to always make it tricky, but it's just going to need to be more expansive than I think what we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And, who else are we going to trust to make those kind of adjustments other than Seb Hines? Like him and his staff will be the people to do it. I love the Simone Jackson minutes. I thought she played real well. Like, to your point, like those subs, obviously she connects with Chilufya on the goal. It was a perfectly placed cross, great tap in from Chilufya. I thought for sure they were going to win it in the they get the equalizer, in the 72nd. I thought they were going to definitely win it. And probably last year's Orlando Pride probably does win that match. I mean, it's a great point by you. Like, obviously, Marta and Angelina had other business to attend to over the weekend, so they probably get the win if they have those two. But yeah, I'm glad that you left encouraged, because I was pretty bummed by the result, but I had to kind of reset and be like, okay, this team is going to have. It's not going to be last year. Like, we just know that now. But the defense is still good. I mean, they've allowed 11 goals this season too. So, like, this is all there. I think the only questionable part is, it's funny you talk about they had that 6-0 win over Utah last year. What did they open the season with? Was that a 6-0 win over Chicago in the first match of the season? So, like, if you think about that, they're sitting on 21 goals, 11 allowed.
11, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, they, even if they just beat Chicago 3-0 in that match, they'd be looking at 18-11, and you'd be kind of looking at them maybe a little differently. But as a wise man once said, it's always good to store away some of those in the old goal differential piggy bank. So I think it was good. It was good that they got those, because they're +7 over Washington Spirit right now. So that should help them in the long run.
Yeah, that's going to make a real difference for sure. And yeah, I guess looking at those goal numbers, they're not as thin as maybe they are in my head, but I'm probably just maybe unfairly comparing them to the KCs and the Washingtons of the world, and then maybe this team as well, the San Diego Wave. They take on Angel City Saturday, 7 p.m. I mean, I'm just going to say it, man. I don't care. XOG guys, they can laugh at me. You, my co-host, my trusted co-host, you can laugh at me too. The San Diego Wave, they're a good football team, man. I'm tired of arguing with people about this. I think they just rough you up, man. Like, I think, like, shout out to Eric who commented on their defense being a little bit smothering. And I think he posed the question. It's like, all right, well, what if in the playoffs they kind of turn it up defensively? In this one, obviously North Carolina, not competitive, not professional, whatever the terminology was used in their official statement. But they got nothing going, and San Diego, they couldn't score, but they definitely controlled the field position. The whole game was played exactly where they wanted to be played. And to my earlier point, they were better at passing than North Carolina, and this is all on the road against a team that has firepower, and they just were completely extinguished, not threatening at all. And San Diego probably pretty disappointed, actually, to leave that 0-0 with nothing based on how they played.
Yeah, 3 of their 18 shots were on target. They had plenty of the ball. They had possession in the attacking half. They just didn't really produce many things that were dangerous. I think the good news for them is they get to play at home versus a reeling Angel City Football Club. But the bad news is Angel City needs these points desperately, and a desperate underdog rival can make for an interesting match in a lot of situations. So I think this one, I'm going to be very, very interested in watching how this one goes, and to see if that San Diego Wave defense, what they have for the speed of Svendas Jane Jones-Daughter.
I think that's going to be, I mean, they're really good, man, San Diego. And I think, like, I'm not sure if it's Lundqvist on that side or if she's on the other side, but their team defending they just want the ball back so badly, because I think all of them can handle the ball. So it's almost like they all want. I'm sure you've played in these kind of like basketball games where it's like you're playing against a team and it's like your 5 is better than their 5. It's just like whenever you get the ball, whoever's getting it, just running and getting the layup or doing whatever they want. So it's like it has that kind of vibe to it, to where their defense is hungry. Like, they just want to harass and get the ball back quickly as possible and make things happen. But that Angel City side, I thought Svendas Jane was pretty encouraging. I thought Junendo, I know it's been a long time since the injury, but looked like, I think, tracking towards closer to like turning back the clock. Junendo, I thought she was pretty effective in the midfield. And I think if it had more firepower, could have made that one pretty interesting. but I think against San Diego, they're going to be overmatched in this one, and the waiver just not really giving anything away. And if you're Angel City, you kind of need to be playing one of these teams you kind of need to be playing like a Gotham or, one of these teams that's not really fully locked in, that's going to give you an opportunity or two to kind of like really flip it your way.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think if you're Angel City, what you need is Endo or Miyabi or Fuller to just provide some service to Jones' daughter, Thompson, and Tiernan. Like you got to get the ball to them in some dangerous spots. I know we've seen Alyssa Thompson be capable, of like the 50-yard carry into the danger area and then rip a shot or lay off a perfect pass. But, you can't rely on that as your offense. And as fast as Jones Daughter and Thompson are, you got to get them the ball in some spots where they don't have to expend a ton of energy just to get into the good spot. You want to get them the ball where they can kind of make things happen down there. So it'll be tough for Angel City, but I think they're going to be, again, I know this is kind of like a hacky sports radio thing, but that's what we're doing here. I think they're going to be real desperate, man. I think this could be a really good matchup as well. NWSL After Dark as well.
Let's go.
Shit could get weird.
I like it. I can feel the spookiness just starting to bubble. So I like it. I like the setup there. I'll be locked into that one. Let's see. Assuming that we don't go into labor and my daughter's enters the world right at that time. We'll see. One more match to hit on the docket. Chicago Stars, Bay FC, Sunday morning, as we're rubbing the sleep out of our eye from NWSL After Dark Saturday night. We get to wake up to a little Chicago Bay. Where do we start with this one? I don't know. Where do you want to get started with this one?
I thought Bay FC should have won against Houston. I thought Rachel Kundanagi looked great. I think in large stretches, she looked like the player that I thought she was going to look like all season. She was playing with enormous confidence. That play early in the match where she turns the defender, she goes to the end line, completely gets the defender turned, and then rips a shot off the inside of the post. It's just like that had to me, that's unlucky. Like she should have scored that. She had other opportunities too where she should have scored. She had the opportunity late where she hits it off the other post and then does a somersault out of frustration, which I thought was just a funny way to just cool. Like get your energy out and be like, God. And she had to, I think, she covers her mouth, but I think she says fuck right before she does it. So like she was clearly frustrated. But their defense again, it looked way exposed on Avery Patterson's cross to Van Zanten. And then, on that late equalizer, there are just times where it's like, are you guys interested in marking people in the danger area or not?
I'd say probably not. But
not particularly interested.
No, not at all. Rachel Kundanagi is just a fascinating player. So looking at her stats of the season, 50 shots attempted, 15 on target, 1 goal.
I don't like it.
Doesn't seem possible, like those numbers. And obviously we know the huge transfer fee to get Kundanagi onto his team. And we know, the ineffectiveness in basically turning these chances into goals. But with all that said, she's still fucking awesome.
True.
She's so fun to watch. Like what she's able to do, like just to your point, running around people, like in and out, like just she'll run like 3 yards out of bounds, run back in, and like that's the way she's gonna make it happen. I totally agree with you. It's only a matter of time. She's so good, and I agree. I think I now believe in luck and unluck. I can't believe we're here, but I have to accept it because this is a player that I don't think there's been a player that's missed 49 shots closer than Kundanagi. Like I feel like
it's crazy.
Like her AG, her almost goals, she is like 25.9. She's just like so like she's so close to scoring. And I think she's so good. You can see the skill, obviously in the chance creation, but then even the placement is just like they're so close. Hits the woodwork twice. To your point, I totally agree with you. It's only a matter of time. But either way, goals or no goals, I mean, she's, to me, must watch. She's so good.
No doubt. 25 years old. So there's a lot of the story still to be written.
Let's go.
I look forward to watching her play, hopefully a long time in our league here in the United States. I do want to talk a little bit about Chicago before we get out of here. Like, obviously, they have the draw versus Gotham FC. I thought it was a solid showing from them. You talked about Ali Schlegel. She had the great header to equalize. I do also, I want to shout out Leslie Ryder of Gal Pal Sports for the very necessary correction that I just had no idea about. But she, from the Gal Pal Sports Blue Sky account, pardon me, posted a video of Lujmila, pardon me, pronouncing her name. And so we've been calling her Ludmila for, more than a year at this point. So shout out to Leslie for getting that out there into the public sphere. I think it's a terrible season for Chicago. They could wrestle at home. They could wrestle away a point from Bay here. They could try to get some positive momentum. I mean, I'm not necessarily rooting for that because I am a Bay FC appreciator. Obviously, you're down there as well. But I'm interested to see how it looks. And I do also want to point out Ella Massar, who is now the manager, or I believe the interim manager for Chicago Stars FC. She played in the course of her career. Well, first of all, worth mentioning, she played for the Illinois Fighting Illini in college. More Big Ten football for you. And then her career span, she played in the NWSL. She played in Top Serien in Norway. She played in Damallsvenskan in Sweden. She played in Frauen Bundesliga for Wolfsburg. Ever heard of them? She played in the Premier League when it was Division 1 Feminine, I believe, for Paris Saint-Germain. Pretty decent club there, too. And so shout out to Ella Massar, who I think as of right now will be, and I just want to fact check myself here. Yeah, she will be she will be one of 3 women managers in the league right now. Obviously, next to Laura Harvey of Seattle Reign FC and Seattle Reign FC legend Bev Yanez from Racing Louisville. Now, our old pal, Felipa Patau, formerly of Benfica, she's going to take over Boston Legacy FC next season. So nice. She's coming into the league. But I'm going to do a quick soapbox here. You look at Ella Massar's experience, like I mentioned, all these different leagues. There just has to be a ton of coaching prospects who played high-level women's football. Like, you think about like NBA players or Major League Baseball players who like bounce around and like have kind of like those journeyman careers. Like those players end up going into coaching ranks. And so for the National Women's Soccer League to have 3 women managers just seems weird to me. So, people are always going to lean on you hire the best candidate for the job, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, I get it. I just want to say we're talking about the National Women's Soccer League, and it's a little surprising that 3 of the 14 teams have women managers.
That's an excellent point, because it's not just a league has former players that bounce around that could make for good coaches. The NWSL is a very unique league. It's unique amongst other football leagues. It's unique amongst other women's football leagues. It's unique amongst leagues within the United States of America. Like,
true,
it has its own unique personality. So I think we could definitely start there. Thinking about the match, though, I totally agree with you about Chicago, like being able to not just get a result from this one, but I think Bay is a kind of team that you look at this, you're like, we can win this game. And I think based on how Chicago looked last week, based on how Bay looked last week, I mentioned up top, you drop points twice in the same game when you're home, and you're taking on a team that you should be able to handle pretty easily. I think going to Chicago, you know, would love to keep it objective here, but I could absolutely see Chicago winning this one. You know,
No.
keeping the draw. I think Bay is going to have a little bit of an uphill battle defensively. You know, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out. You know, offensively, it'll be about finishing and figuring out how to connect those pieces. But I don't know. I think Bay's got to sort some stuff out from a strategic standpoint and from a chemistry standpoint, and then get a little luckier along the Kundanaji scale, and then maybe try to figure out how to slow down Chicago. You know, and disculpe Luzmila, but I mean, I thought Luzmila was very effective as well. You know, in those minutes. You know, so that could be a very hands-full kind of situation for Bay defensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Now, obviously, we're talking about the 10th and 13th teams on the table. Bay FC, their playoff chances kind of on life support, but I mean, not totally out of it. Like they're 3 points behind Gotham. So if Bay FC does get an away win here, you know, they're kind of in that mix. But even with teams at the bottom of the table, I think it's very fascinating.
I think that 7 through 14 is super live. Racing Louisville is not through 14. Scratch that. I'll give Houston some credit here. 7 through 12. So the points band is 20 points for Racing in 7th, 12 points for Houston in 12th. So 8 points difference. That's a lot of points. But I think if you're any team in that mix, you're not looking at Racing and being like, we can't catch them. You know, I think that's probably as high up as you can aspire to. Above them is the Portland, Seattle's, San Diego, Washington, Orlando, KC, to round it out. So I think, yeah, to your point, 7 through 12, I mean, I think we get a fun playoff race down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And, you know, like if you're those players, and in this league, again, we talk about the kind of unique qualities of this league, where I think that, you know, our good pal, Asil Tufile, who talked about us about the Euros and France's Euros, talked about Delphine Cascarino talking exactly about that, is that any team in this league can beat any other team. So if you're Houston Dash sitting on 12 points, you think, I don't know, we got a draw last week. What if we get 2 wins in a row? We're right back in the playoff race. So it's one of the great parts of this league.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. I want to hit the episode calendar. Well, anything else you want to hit before we close the book on the Week 15 preview?
I think we've done it. There was one team that I don't think we didn't talk much about, Racing, but you know they had kind of a blah performance, and you know what are you going to do against Kansas City? So yeah. Emma Sears wasn't at her best. She had a good cross in there, but I would imagine you're probably not selling any Racing stock just because they lost to Kansas City Current.
No, definitely not. I'm actually calling the broker for a couple more Taylor Flint options, you know, because I thought she was an absolute, you know, like she looks like a giant squid in the center of the park, just arms and legs just reaching in every direction, just grabbing everything, you know.
She was their best player for sure.
Unstoppable. I mean, like she's so good. So yeah, we'll see what Flint's got for this weekend. But yeah, Week 15 gets rolling here in a couple days. Quick episode calendar. None of it really matters. There's just one date on the calendar that matters, and that's August 27th, when our beloved SK Braun takes on Internazionale in UEFA Women's Champions League qualifying. Let's fucking go. August 27th is a fun day. A lot of good teams in action that day. Hammarby, Roma, Twente. I can't remember all of them. Vålerenga. A lot of fun teams kind of, you know, shake off some cobwebs. So let's mark down the calendar. We'll do a couple NWSL shows between now and then maybe invite a guest on or two as well. And that's assuming that I don't become a dad here for the second time. Because if that happens, who knows when you might not see me for a while. But we'll keep you posted. But that's the very you know, 1 of 1 episode calendar for this episode.
I like it, and you know we'll kind of see how it goes. I mean, you know, please feel free to suggest some guests as we're as Dino mentioned, we're coming down to crunch time. I might have to to do this thing on my own for a couple times for the best reason possible. So I look forward to figuring it out as we go. But yeah, man, I feel like we've done it for this episode at least.
We'll get it sorted. Quick shout outs here. I want to say hello to some friends. Jess82384. You already know what time it is. Crowman0 from Albion, up on a mountain somewhere. Our guy, you already know what time it is. We appreciate you. Boy Named Blue, K-Clov, Justin, we already mentioned up top. Frederick, MLS. Just a fun time in the YouTube comments this week. So we appreciate everybody hanging out and sharing some takes. And, helping us learn, helping us elevate our games, learning podcasts. We always like to say that, and I think we like to live what we say. So, with that said, this has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for watching, listening, hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking them with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials, except one. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engle, for slumming it with me in NWSL town. I appreciate you, bro. It's not the hoity-toity European game, but it is fun. It is physical. It is American, and I appreciate you rocking with me.
Yeah, likewise, buddy. It's our league, and that says something right there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the most competitive league in the world. We could have that discussion with MLS again if that necessarily makes it the best league in the world. I think there's some good conversations to be had there, but those will be for another day, and we'll look forward to having those with you all in the YouTube comments. Like Dino said, thank you for rocking with us, always dropping knowledge, always supporting the show. We greatly appreciate you all, and we will see you next time.